Have you ever stopped to think that the words you say to your child today might be shaping how they see themselves for the rest of their lives? I know this might sound harsh, but the truth is that many of us, as parents, end up hurting our children without even realizing it. It's not out of malice, it's not out of lack of love, but rather the automatic repetition of phrases we learned in our own childhood. And the worst part is that these words, spoken impulsively in the rush of daily life, or even with the best of intentions to educate, become ingrained in our children's minds as absolute truths about who they are. Expert Mel Robbins explains something that should make us stop and reflect. The words we constantly repeat to our children not only educate behaviors, they create deep beliefs about identity. And these beliefs? They will determine how our children will relate to themselves, to others, and to the world around them when they become adults. The problem isn't in making a mistake once, in losing patience in a difficult moment, or in saying something we later regret. The real problem lies in unconscious repetition, in those phrases that come out of our mouths automatically, without us stopping to think about the real impact they can have. If you've ever recognized yourself in any of these situations, if you've ever felt that tightness in your chest thinking about the words you said to your child, I want you to know one thing. This video wasn't made to judge or point fingers. It was made to raise awareness. And if you're here, watching this far, it already shows that you care enough to want to do things differently. So, subscribe to the channel, because we're going to continue exploring together how we can create a more conscious and loving upbringing for our children. Now, before we talk about these 8 specific toxic phrases, we need to understand exactly why parents' words have such a profound impact on children's development. There's a huge difference between how an adult processes criticism and how a child does. We adults have life experience, we have references, we know that a person might be having a bad day, or that a phrase was said in the heat of the moment. Children don't have that developed emotional filter. When we talk to our children, especially during moments of tension or discipline, they can't separate the message from identity. They don't just think they did something wrong, they begin to believe they are something wrong. Mel Robbins explains that the child's brain works in a very particular way. It takes the information it receives repeatedly and transforms it into definitions of the self. If a child constantly hears that they are stubborn, they don't just learn that they need to be more flexible. They internalize that being stubborn is part of who they are, of their essence. And here's the crucial point. When something is said many times to a child, it ceases to be just a comment about behavior and becomes a belief about identity. These beliefs become the basis upon which the child will build their self-image, their relationships, and their life choices. That's why it's so important to be aware of the words we use repeatedly with our children. Leave a comment with the phrase, "Words educate," if you agree that this awareness of the power of our words can truly change everything in the way we raise our children. Because when we understand the real impact of what we say, we automatically begin to choose our words more carefully and intentionally. Now let's talk about the first 2 phrases that, according to Mel Robbins' perspective, can cause profound emotional damage when constantly repeated. The first is one that practically all of us have heard or said: stop crying. It seems simple. It even seems necessary at times. But what this phrase really teaches a child is that their emotions are a problem that needs to be eliminated quickly. When we tell a child to stop crying, especially repeatedly, we are sending the message that feeling sadness, frustration, fear, or any intense emotion is wrong, something that should be repressed. The child learns that, to be accepted and loved, they need to control and hide their truest emotions. The result? Adults who have a completely dysfunctional relationship with their own feelings. The second, equally problematic phrase is, "It's nothing." We usually say this when we think our children are making a mountain out of a molehill, when something that seems small to us adults is causing them great suffering. But when we consistently invalidate children's feelings in this way, we are teaching them that their perception of their own experiences is unreliable. A child who frequently hears that their problems are nothing grows up believing that their emotions are exaggerated, that they are too dramatic, that they cannot trust their own emotional perception. In adulthood, this translates into people who minimize their own suffering, who have difficulty asking for help, or who swing to the opposite extreme and explode emotionally because they have spent so much time repressing that they no longer know how to express feelings in a balanced way. Mel Robbins alerts us to something fundamental. Denied emotion does not magically disappear. It accumulates, creates internal pressure, and eventually finds a way to express itself, often in ways far more problematic than if it had been validated and worked through from the beginning. Continuing our analysis, we arrive at the third and fourth toxic phrases that can profoundly mark children's self-esteem. I'm talking about "you always do this" and "you never learn." These phrases are particularly dangerous because they don't just attack a specific behavior. They attack the child's identity as a whole. When we use words like "always" and "never" to refer to our children's behaviors, we are creating permanent labels. The child stops simply hearing that they made a mistake or that they need to improve in something specific. They start hearing a definition of who they are as a person. "You always do that" doesn't communicate that a behavior needs to change. It communicates that there is something fundamentally problematic in the child's nature. "You never learn" is even more devastating because it directly attacks the child's capacity for growth. When we repeat this phrase, we are literally saying that we don't believe in our child's ability to evolve, to develop, to be better. We are creating an emotional prophecy that can become reality simply because the child has internalized that they are incapable of learning and changing. Mel Robbins explains that these generalizations create what she calls emotional prophecies. The child begins to behave exactly according to the label they received, not because it's true, but because they have come to believe that this is their immutable nature. If they constantly hear that they always do something wrong, they eventually stop trying to do things differently. After all, why bother trying to change if their own parents have already determined that they are someone who always makes the same mistakes? What happens is that we completely lose the opportunity to truly educate and correct behaviors. Instead of teaching, we are labeling. Instead of guiding, we are limiting. And the difference between these two approaches can determine whether our child grows up believing in their potential for growth or believing that they are condemned to repeat the same patterns forever. Now let's address the fifth and sixth toxic phrases, which are related to one of the most complex problems in raising children: the transfer of emotional responsibility from parents to children. I'm talking about phrases like, "You disappointed me," and "Look what you made me go through." When we tell our child that they disappointed us, we are doing something much more serious than simply expressing our frustration. We are placing the weight of our emotions and expectations on the shoulders of a person who is still learning to deal with their own emotions. The child internalizes that they are responsible for keeping their parents happy and satisfied, and that when this doesn't happen, the blame lies entirely with them. "Look what you made me go through" is even more problematic because it teaches the child that they have the power to control and cause the emotional suffering of the adults around them. This may seem like an exaggeration, but think about the real impact of this message. A young child learning that their parents' emotions depend on their behavior. What an impossible responsibility to bear. The result of these phrases, repeated throughout childhood, is the creation of adults who constantly try to please everyone, who have enormous difficulty establishing healthy boundaries because they believe they are responsible for the happiness of others. These are people who blame themselves when someone is upset with them, even when they have done nothing wrong. These are people who constantly sacrifice their own needs because they have learned that the well-being of others is more important than their own. Mel Robbins teaches something fundamental about this pattern. Guilt doesn't educate, guilt conditions. When we use guilt as an educational tool, we are not teaching our children to make better choices by understanding what is right. We are conditioning them to make choices based on the fear of disappointing, the fear of causing suffering, the fear of losing love and approval. The difference is enormous. A child who learns through understanding develops an internal sense of morality and ethics. A child who learns through guilt develops a compulsive need for external approval and a tendency to sacrifice themselves for others in unhealthy ways. We now come to the last two toxic phrases on our list, and they are particularly devastating because they attack two fundamental aspects of personality formation: security in love and confidence in one's own abilities. The seventh phrase is, "If you continue like this, no one will love you." And the eighth is, "In my day, I did better." "If you keep acting like this, nobody will love you," is a phrase that should be completely banished from the vocabulary of any parent. When we say this, we are literally using the fear of abandonment as a tool for behavioral control. We are teaching our child that love is conditional, that it needs to be earned through good behavior, and that there is always the risk of rejection if they don't meet expectations. A child who grows up hearing this threat develops a deep emotional insecurity. They spend their entire life fearing that people will abandon them if they discover who they really are, with all their flaws and imperfections. This creates adults who live wearing masks, who have superficial relationships because they are afraid to show vulnerability, who make choices based on what they believe will keep people around, not on what they really want or believe. The eighth phrase, "In my day I did better," may seem less dramatic, but its impact is equally destructive. This constant comparison with the parents' performance when they were children creates an impossible standard to achieve. The child grows up thinking they are never good enough, that they are always falling short of what they should be able to achieve. Furthermore, this phrase completely ignores the different context in which each generation grows up. The pressures, challenges, and opportunities you had in your childhood are completely different from those your child faces today. Comparing performances without considering context is not only unfair, it's counterproductive to the development of healthy self-esteem. Mel Robbins explains that constant comparisons don't generate motivation to improve. They generate a chronic feeling of inadequacy. The child stops trying to be the best version of themselves and starts trying to be an impossible version of someone else, from another time, from another context. Leave a comment with the phrase, "Educating is awareness," if you believe that becoming aware of these patterns can truly transform how we raise our children. Because the truth is that most parents don't use these phrases with the intention to hurt. They use them because that's how they were raised, because they're on autopilot, because they haven't had the opportunity to reflect on the real impact of these words. To conclude our conversation, I want to make one thing very clear. Recognizing these patterns is not about blaming yourself or punishing yourself for past mistakes. It's about becoming aware in order to make different choices going forward. Parents don't create emotional wounds in their children out of malicious intent. They create them through the unconscious repetition of patterns they learned in their own childhood. The good news is that when awareness kicks in, the pattern can change. When you understand the real impact of your words, you automatically start choosing them more carefully. When you understand that your child is forming beliefs about themselves based on what you repeatedly say, you naturally become more intentional in how you communicate. Mel Robbins reinforces a fundamental concept. Parenting is teaching behavior without destroying identity. It's possible to correct, guide, and set limits without attacking the essence of who our child is. Words can correct without hurting. They can guide without shaming. They can set expectations without creating fear or insecurity. The difference lies in the approach. Instead of, "You always do this," we can say, "This behavior needs to change." Instead of, "Stop crying," we can say, "I see you're sad. Let's talk about what's happening." Instead of, "You disappointed me," we can say, "I didn't like that choice you made. Let's think about how to do it differently next time." When we make these changes in how we communicate, something magical happens. Home ceases to be a place of emotional fear, where the child must tiptoe to maintain parental love. Instead, it transforms into a space of emotional security, where they can be authentic, make mistakes, learn, and grow without fear of losing love or approval. This doesn't mean raising spoiled or unruly children. It means raising children who have clear boundaries, but don't confuse those boundaries with their own identity. It means raising people who know they are loved regardless of the mistakes they make, and who, for that very reason, have more genuine motivation to make good choices. This isn't a path to perfection. No parent will get it right 100% of the time. We will continue to make mistakes. We will continue to have moments when we lose our patience. We will continue to be human. But there is a huge difference between making occasional mistakes and unconsciously perpetuating toxic patterns. Emotional responsibility in action is about recognizing when we are wrong, about genuinely apologizing when our words hurt, about always being willing to learn and improve. It's about understanding that our role as parents is not just to feed, clothe, and formally educate our children. It's also about nurturing their self-esteem, validating their emotions, and helping them develop a healthy relationship with themselves. When we embrace this emotional responsibility, we are giving our children a gift that will last a lifetime: the ability to love themselves, to trust themselves, to establish healthy relationships, and to navigate the world with the emotional security necessary to be truly happy. If this video touched you in any way, if it made you reflect on your own childhood or on how you are raising your children, share it in the comments. And if you want to continue this journey of conscious parenting, subscribe to the channel for more content that can transform the way you relate to the most important people in your life.